Sure, it might have been another big 3 win, but at least I thought this one was pretty exciting. How's it going, everybody? My name is Eric and welcome to Out of the Groove on the Road. If I had like a green screen setup, I could make it look like I was flying through outer space or something, but no, I'm just sitting in a parking lot. For those of you who've watched my last couple episodes, I mentioned that I was moving out of my current apartment and I'm in this odd limbo that is the couple weeks between leases. My next apartment, my new apartment, I can't move in until late August, so for the next couple weeks, I'm kind of moving around. Right now I'm staying with a friend at their place, but there's really not that much space in their room to set up any sort of studio or to film. There's not good lighting, so I was like, hell, I'm just gonna come out here and sit in my car and just like rant or something. We don't have a lot to shout about today. There's a lot of good things to talk about, so it's gonna be a pretty laid back, pretty positive episode, I think. I'm not going to go too in depth, but I'm basically going to give you my general thoughts and opinions on today's race at New Hampshire. I know it's pretty late probably when I'm uploading this, but yeah, here you go. For starters, I'll start with, I guess, the end of the race. Looking at the finishing results and even watching the final 30 or 40 laps really doesn't give you the full story on how this race was. I know down the stretch it ended up Kyle Busch versus Kevin Harvick with Truex kind of lurking. Basically been the story of this entire season. I mean, honestly, that's kind of how this race felt. There's a few challengers, but at the end of the day, it was the big three, and specifically Harvick versus Busch. And in this case, Kevin Harvick got the upper hand. Yeah, he did, but it took a couple hits to the bumper of Kyle Busch for Harvick to get around him. New Hampshire's, flat, typically hard to pass. Harvick really put the bumper. He used up everything the 18 car had there to get past him. And it worked out for Harvick, but, the post-race comments were interesting. Kyle Busch seemed to think it was pretty much fair game, so I don't expect any sort of retaliation. But, this is kind of 1 point for Harvick in the sense that now Kyle Busch feels like if he's in the same scenario, he's going to have no second thoughts about moving Harvick out of the way. Of course, he's going to have to catch Kevin Harvick first. And that's the one big takeaway from Kevin Harvick winning this race. It's his 6th win of the year, which is already a career high, and we still have almost half the season to go. It's his 6th win of the year, which breaks the tie with Kyle Busch. Now Harvick has 6 wins, Busch has 5, and Truex is back there with 4. So Harvick kind of retakes over the first spot maybe in a lot of people's heads. And this is important because the last few weeks, he hadn't won in like a month or more. I don't know how long it's been. We forgot he got off to such a hot start, but he kind of cooled off. He wasn't winning as much. Still running up front, but he wasn't winning as much. Kyle Busch was winning a lot. Truex has started to win. We'd kind of forgotten about Harvick, but lo and behold, he shows up here in New Hampshire, and he's the one hoisting the lobster at the end. And now we're all talking about him once again because Kevin Harvick, as if any of us had really started to doubt ourselves, Harvick is still probably the championship favorite. I asked you guys on Twitter last week who you guys thought the favorites were, and Harvick was second to Truex at the time. And Truex continued his role, another top 5, he's continued to be hot, but Harvick, this could be the start of a real second half surge. I wouldn't be shocked if Harvick ends up with a dozen wins. Now, I don't want to keep you guys too long here, so let's go and look at the top 20 finishing results from today's race. A race that was delayed by rain a couple hours. I should probably have led with that part of the show. There was a rain delay there, so a lot of people were criticizing, there's not that many people in the crowd. I think the rain delay had a little bit of something to do with that. Also, New Hampshire historically doesn't have great racing. I thought today's race was pretty solid though. Some spins early, some caution, some tire strategy early on, saw some different leaders. But more importantly, you see here some guys in the top 5. Chase Elliott there with the top 5. Eric Almirola finishes 3rd. Both of them spent a lot of the race running up front or even leading. And I know Chase Elliott, so close to that first win, and again had to look like he had a really, really good car. Team Hendrick in general looked like they had really, really good cars today. Bowman started slow, but he worked his way up there. Solid finish for him. Jimmy Johnson ran top 10 pretty much all day, so he earned that finish. And even William Byron there, a rookie in 14th, that's not bad. I mean, and remember, Chase Elliott get that top 5. He also won stage 2, so he led for a lot of this race. So Team Hendrick, I think, props to them. They had themselves a heck of a day, at least by 2018 standards. Ryan Newman there, 6th place. Give him props for that. Good day for him. Kurt Busch there finishes 8th. He also led for a decent amount of this race, but, he fell back ultimately. He was in the wrong lane at the wrong time when Almirola spun the tires on that late race restart, and that kind of helped push him back there a little bit more. I think he had a better car than 8th, but track position was not his friend in the end of the day. Penske Racing there, you see Blaney there and Logano both just sneaking into the top 10, kind of having their typical low-key Penske days. That'll get them to the round of 8, but that's why they're not championship threats right now. And Keselowski had a brake failure, so I don't know where he finished. We see Denny Hamlin there in 13th, and that is the biggest surprise of the day. Joe Gibbs Racing in general. I mean, I know Kyle Busch finished 2nd, almost won the race, but that 18 car struggled. Kyle Busch is just the best driver in NASCAR right now, so he willed that thing to another top 5. But Hamlin, a lot of people, myself included, picked Hamlin to win this race. This is where he got his first win of the season last year. This has been one of his best tracks the last few years. Joe Gibbs Racing as an organization has won here a lot the last few years with Hamlin, with Kenseth, with Busch, and Truex has run well. You know, they've all been so good here. So it's just surprising. It's very surprising that Hamlin could really never run better than 13th. That's really the highest he was most of the race. And you see Suarez outside the top 20. Eric Jones way worse than I thought they'd be. Gibbs struggled, and that was surprising. Larson too in 12th. I know New Hampshire doesn't seem like the Larson type of track, but he did run second here a year ago, so I thought he might run a little better than this. I couldn't go this episode without giving Matt Kenseth some respect. 15th place in that 6 car. Matt Kenseth has run 6 races with Roush, not counting the All-Star race, so 6 full races. He's got 4 top 20s, a 19th, a 17th, a 15th, and a 13th now. And in those 2 races he didn't get top 20s, he blew a tire and was caught up in somebody else's wreck. So I like to think that Matt Kenseth has improved that 6 car some. But it's not so much about how Kenseth does in that 6 car that Roush is concerned about, it's how he helps Roush as an overall organization. And unfortunately, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the full-time Roush driver, really had a bad day. Really rough day. He came into this weekend, I believe, 9 points outside of the top 16. Bowman was 16th, 17th place is Ricky Stenhouse, 9 points out. And early on, Bowman was struggling. I mean, he finished 11th, so it's not like Alex Bowman had a great day. And Ricky Stenhouse Jr. led a little bit on some pit strategy, but looked like he was a 10th to 15th place car, and that would have been a solid day for him until I think he had a tire go down or something. He really pancaked the wall really hard midway through the race, and that really killed it. He finished outside the top 30, unfortunately. So if you look at the playoff bubble right now, he went from 9 points back to 28. And in a race where Alex Bowman did not have his best stuff, 11th place isn't bad, but it's not great. You really hoped, if you're Ricky Stenhouse, that you could make some waves and maybe at least keep it around single digits. So that's a disappointing day for him, but you know, he's still got a few races. He's not out of it by any means, but this was a day that, you know, I bet they had circled, and it did not go the way they expected. So I basically just want to conclude with, I thought this was a good overall race. I think the only thing that kind of will disappoint some fans with this race, and it's unfair, but it's the fact that it came down to Kevin Harvick versus Kyle Busch. Myself included, I've been a big fan of this whole Big Three thing. I think it's incredible how these drivers continue to answer each other week in, week out. We're at a completely different track this week. New Hampshire, I mean, maybe Phoenix is similar to New Hampshire, but still not really. This is such a unique racetrack, and at the end of the day, it was Harvick, Busch, and Truex at the front of the field. It's just incredible. Eric Almirola had an incredible chance to win it. You know, he had a big lead. Caution comes out. His pit crew screws up. He comes out third. Then Almirola screws up and spins the tires. So if you want to blame anyone for letting the Big Three win, blame Almirola and his pit crew, because they had every chance to win it and they blew it every time, which is unfortunate. I'm really rooting for Almirola. He's probably going to get a win this year the way he's been running. Honestly, I think he's got a very good chance. Remember, he was half a lap away from winning the Daytona 500. He had a really good car at Chicagoland a few weeks ago, and then this. You know, he's had 3 really good chances. I think his time will come. But I know some fans are going to be disappointed with this race. They're going to look past, you know, some of the good battles. It's hard to pass at New Hampshire as always, but I thought with the PJ1, you know, the grooves were changing. You had 2 grooves that could work pretty well. Like on restarts, the outside lane was a little bit better, but it wasn't like overwhelmingly better. And later in the race, it felt like the inside lane actually could work pretty well for a lot of people. So it was a race with changing grooves, some changing strategies, pretty good battles, a lot of different leaders, including guys like Chase Elliott, like Kurt Busch, like Eric Almirola, who we don't see lead as often. That was good to see. I was thoroughly entertained throughout, and it's unfortunate the rain had to delay it, and I'm sure it messed up with some people's schedules, but I enjoyed the race. I thought it was a good race, much better than I would have thought coming into this weekend at New Hampshire, and I hope it bodes well for the future, because next week we have Pocono, which can only do so much, but then we got Watkins Glen, I think, right after that. So it's the summer lull that is kind of like the Kentucky, Loudon, Pocono stretch is coming to an end, and we got Watkins Glen coming up, and remember, we got Bristol in August, and then the playoffs are going to start. We got Indy, and then the playoffs. It's going to be great racing, I think. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Thanks for watching, everybody. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Instagram. Check all those out down below. Thank you to our wonderful, wonderful Patreon sponsors of Out of the Groove. You too can be a sponsor and get access to behind-the-scenes photos. You get your name feature on every episode for a month, and you get access to extra posts that I make about different opinions and stuff on the sport. All that for just $5 a month. So I really encourage you guys to go check that out. Thank you so much for the support. What else? Yeah, thanks for putting up with me sitting in my car in this parking lot. I've been trying to keep an eye out for weirdos looking at me funny, but I think we're okay. I'm probably the only weirdo out here. It's gonna be a little weird like this for the next 3 or 4 weeks. I'm gonna be moving back and forth between my friend's place, then my home, my parents' house in Houston where I have more stuff set up. So it's going to be back and forth a lot. Sorry about that, guys, but I hope you're able to look past it and still enjoy these videos. I'm trying to still basically do the same thing. Once, the end of August hits, I'll be moved into a brand new apartment, and I'm super excited because I'm going to soup that thing up to be like the perfect YouTube NASCAR making studio apartment building place ever. So I'm really excited to get there and get back to work, back on the grind, so to speak. But yeah, Doubly Cup Series, Tournament of Champions Race 2 will be out in just a couple days, Tuesday. We have a podcast this weekend, our NASCAR weekly podcast that I do with everyone. I should also shout this out at the beginning. We have the one, the only, Bobby Allison, Hall of Famer, Bobby Allison, joining us this Thursday on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You're going to want to be there right at 8 p.m. because Bobby Allison will be joining us for the first 20 to 30 minutes, probably about the first 20 minutes of the show. So make sure you're there early because I'm sure he's going to have some interesting things to say, and we're really, really excited and honored to get to talk to him. So I hope you guys are excited because I know we certainly are. And I'll see you guys then. So have a great week, everyone. See you guys Thursday. Bye, guys.